All right, today we're diving into the raw, cold world of Claire Keegan's incredible novella, Small Things Like These. Now, it's set in 1985 Ireland, but what makes this story so powerful is this quiet, deeply personal moral journey that feels completely timeless. We're going to follow our protagonist, a man named Bill Furlong, as he comes face to face with the terrible truth that his entire town has basically agreed to ignore.
This tells you just about everything you need to know about where Bill Furlong starts. His life begins on the absolute margins of society. He's the son of a 16-year-old single mom who was thrown out by her own family. So his starting point isn't just zero, it's a deficit. He's starting from behind.
So who is this man? This first section is all about establishing his character. Furlong is a man who's defined just as much by what he doesn't have, like a father or even a father's name, as he is by these really fundamental acts of decency that ended up saving him.
You know, his character was really forged by this very unconventional upbringing thanks to two key people. First, you have Mrs. Wilson. She was a Protestant widow who took in his mother, which was a huge deal back then, totally defying the social judgment of the time. She gave him a home and education, and then there was Ned, a farmhand. His contributions were these small, quiet acts of kindness, polishing Bill's shoes, just showing him basic decency that gave him a sense of worth, of dignity.
But even with that stability, there's this big, gaping hole at the center of his life. He's haunted by the fact that he has no idea who his father is. When he goes to get his birth certificate, the space for his father's name just says unknown. And he never, ever forgets the clerk's just ugly smile as he hands it over. It's that kind of small cruelty that really sticks with you.
Okay, so as an adult, his whole world is anchored by his family, his wife Eileen and their 5 daughters. His girls are his deep, private joy. But Eileen, she's the pragmatist. Her guiding philosophy is basically, look, if you want to get on in life, there are things you just have to ignore. And that's a worldview built for survival, for sure, but it's about to clash big time with Furlong's own conscience.
And now we get to the place that's going to test Furlong's character right to the absolute limit, the local convent. It's this imposing building that just looms over the town, both physically and, psychologically.
A whole cloud of rumor surrounds this convent. You hear all these conflicting whispers. Some people say it's a place for girls of low character. Others call it a Magdalene Laundry. Then you've got people insisting the nuns have hearts of gold. The town is just swimming in all these stories, a truth that most people would really rather not look at too closely.
But behind all those whispers was a very dark and very real history. Magdalene Laundries were actual institutions across Ireland. They were places of forced, unpaid labor for so-called fallen women, which mostly just meant unmarried mothers. The conditions were brutal, and the trauma they inflicted, separating mothers from their babies, it echoed for generations. That's the history that's lurking right behind the convent's polished gates. For Furlong, all this town gossip becomes horrifyingly real during a delivery. He sees these young girls on their hands and knees looking scalded and just completely worn down. And then one of them comes up to him with this desperate, absolutely chilling plea. He backs away, but her words, they plant a seed of unease that he just can't shake.
This brings us to the very heart of the story, what you could call the moral crucible. A horrifying discovery is about to force Furlong out of his quiet complicity and into a direct showdown with the convent, and with his own conscience.
So on a cold Sunday morning, he's making a delivery when he finds the coal shed door bolted from the outside. He forces it open, and inside he finds a young woman, Sarah. She can barely stand, she's emaciated, her hair's been butchered, and she's covered in filth. And his first reaction is just pure human empathy. He looks at her and says, "God love you, child."
But here's the thing. As he's helping her, Sarah's plea isn't for herself, it's for her child. That specific, heartbreaking request becomes the moral task that's laid right at his feet. It's a burden he can't ignore,
a promise he feels deep down that he has to keep.
So he brings Sarah inside, and suddenly he's in this moral standoff. The Mother Superior is an absolute master of manipulation, trying to smooth everything over with tea and condescension. But something just shifts in Furlong. He feels this queer new power, as the book says, to just stand his ground, to refuse to be dismissed.
Furlong leaves, but he failed to ask about the baby. His wife Eileen tries to rationalize it all away, but Furlong cuts through all the noise with one simple, devastating question. But what if it was one of ours? He's thinking of his own daughters, and suddenly, this isn't some abstract problem anymore. It's deeply personal. It's an unbearable crisis.
So he's left the convent, but the real battle is just beginning, and it's an internal one. This is where he's forced to weigh the cost of getting involved against the heavy, soul-crushing price of doing nothing.
His inaction is just eating away at him. It starts to show up physically. He nicks himself shaving. He can't seem to scrub the coal dust from under his nails, almost like he's trying to scrub away the guilt. Mentally, he feels like a hypocrite at Mass. The regret is just excruciating, and he's haunted by these tiny, devastating details, like the memory of seeing the breast milk leaking under the little cardigan.
And as he's wrestling with this, he's getting conflicting signals from the community. On one side, there's a push toward action. He visits Mrs. Wilson's old house, and a woman there reminds him of his connection to Ned's decency. But then you have the push toward inaction. The local shopkeeper, Mrs. Cahoe, gives him a very stark warning, basically saying, you can't challenge the church without damaging yourself, pointedly reminding him that his own daughters go to the convent school.
Ultimately, his torment just boils down to this. This isn't just about the girl in the convent anymore. This is a fundamental crisis of his own identity. Is there any point to being alive if people don't help each other? Can he actually carry on with his life, do nothing, and still be the man he thought he was? Can he even look at himself in the mirror?
And this all leads to the resolution, where Furlong's final choice reveals this immense, almost revolutionary power that you can find in a single, quiet act of courage. So his decision isn't some grand, dramatic speech. On Christmas Eve, he simply goes back to the convent for Sarah, and his big act of defiance is just to walk her home right through the heart of the town. The consequences are immediate. You see the whispers, people giving them a wide berth, the judgment, but he just keeps walking.
And the reward for his courage, it isn't just relief from guilt. It's something so much more. He feels this fresh, new, unrecognizable joy, a happiness so profound he realizes he's never known anything like it in his whole life, not even when his daughters were born. It's the joy of finally aligning your actions with your deepest self.
And this action, it closes a circle that started before he was even born. He gets it. He understands that without Mrs. Wilson's brave, unconventional kindness all those years ago, his own mother could have easily met the same fate as Sarah. His courage isn't just for this one girl. It's an act that honors the kindness that saved him.
Furlong's journey is this incredibly profound meditation on complicity and what courage really looks like. And it leaves us with a question that just lingers long after the story is over. In a world where it is so easy to look away, what does it truly take for one person to finally do the right thing?